When I started nursing, I thought that the answer to financial freedom was simply a bigger paycheck. And so every time I got a raise, I switched jobs, I really thought that I was winning. But then I realized that income alone is not enough to give me financial freedom. It is a combination of increasing your income and investing that really changed everything for me. So if you're a nurse who is working full time, and you are wondering how you can reach financial freedom before you turn 50, or if you're in your 40s, then this video is for you, and this is your roadmap because it's the one that I've been on for the past 15 years that I have been a nurse. I know a lot of nurses who really focuses on working more hours, working hard, they focus on working overtime, and that is for a good reason. But chasing more hours and more income doesn't always lead to financial freedom and doesn't really always lead to wealth. And so here are the two key truths about why this matters. You can, in fact, increase your income significantly over time. And this happened to me. But if you don't invest or save the money and you don't invest that gap, you'd still be trading your hours for dollars forever. So today I'm going to walk you through my salary progression as a nurse, how I used my job switching every 3 years to stack my income, and why investing is really important and essential in order for you to build wealth. Hi, my name is Elaine. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm the founder of Nursing Flowsheet. And if you're new here, welcome. I talk about nursing, career, and money and everything in between in order for you to build wealth. So if you like this kind of videos, make sure that you subscribe down below. So let's start with my salary progression story, because I think it's important to understand where I'm coming from when it comes to talking about money and increasing your income and why this all matters in the end. So chronologically, I started as a bedside ICU nurse in California in Central Valley, making roughly $28 per hour. And if you are from California, you know that that is pretty low in our area when it comes to like cost of living and also taxes in our state. So I started $28 per hour. It was a county hospital, and even though there was pension in this hospital, I did not think that it was worth it long term. So I ended up switching and moving to a different city. After 3 years of working $28 per hour, I moved to a different hospital up in Sacramento, California, in Northern California. And in Northern California, the pay is much better than Central Valley. Going up to that new location, I started making around, I think, $52 per hour. And at that time as well, I really utilized my ways of increasing my salary within my profession, which I gave you more like tips about this in one of my videos. Ways to increase your income as a nurse right here. You can check that out. But essentially, like, I have took my ICU nurse certification, my CCRN, which increased my salary. I worked a lot of differential shifts during this period. And so during this transition, I was roughly making around $50 to $60 per hour. And around that time, I decided that I wanted to go back to school as a nurse practitioner, because I figured that this is a good way to advance my degree, make more money, and also be more autonomous and be more involved in my patient's care. And I talked about my NP journey in another video if you want to check that out as well. Not every nurse practitioner that I know makes more money than nurses. So if you're just going in for the money, it may not be the best decision for you, but I talked about more in this video with my journey. But anyways, during that time that I was in grad school to become a nurse practitioner, I worked per diem. So per diem means that it is on as needed basis, and your pay is much higher because you're not really getting the benefits from a full-time employment at the hospital. Around this time, as a per diem nurse, I was making $77 per hour. And what I was doing is that I was doing as a resource nurse. I was a float nurse to ICU all over the whole hospital system. It was a really great gig, and this is something that I'd probably do if I wasn't a nurse practitioner now, because I really loved working as a per diem nurse. Like, they give them the times that I would be able to work. I have control of my time, and I was making more money. The only caveat is that, like, I wasn't having any benefits. I don't have the retirement retirement account option from the hospital. So I wasn't really investing around this time, but I was making more money. And then when I became a nurse practitioner, I left bedside nursing completely, and I went back down. Like, I downgraded, because as a new nurse practitioner, my nursing experience did not really count for how much money I'm going to be getting paid. So around this time, I switched from hourly pay to salary pay. And my starting as a nurse practitioner in Northern California was only $110,000 a year. To convert that to like hourly pay, it's around, oh my gosh, it was like only $53 per hour. So exactly what I was making when I moved to Sacramento with 3 years experience as a nurse. So in some ways I downgraded, but my schedule is a little bit better in a sense that I work consistently day shift, but I felt like I was really working way more hours during this time. I did not even realize that I was only making $53 per hour at that time, but I felt like I was really working more hours, because in my nurse practitioner job, the very first one, I worked primary care. And it was like, this is the hardest specialty, or it's not really a specialty, that I worked at as a nurse practitioner, because it's a very busy clinic. And yeah, I was probably making way less per hour during this time, because I was transitioning from being a nurse to a nurse practitioner. And just that transition period is probably way more hours put in. But I worked in primary care for about a year, $110,000 a year. And then I moved back to Central Valley, where I was working as a new nurse in really like my hometown. And I worked in an urgent care, which I have made videos about this in my previous videos that you can check out. But I did not even last a full year in urgent care. I think I only worked like 10 to 11 months, because yeah, it was only 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts, but it was very busy. And I felt like I wasn't really using my brain, in a sense that I see so many patients in a full day that it was not even worth it. In this job, I was getting paid around $60 per hour. And you know what? No, it's $65 per hour, because I remember I had to negotiate for my pay. I was like, I'm moving back to Central Valley from Northern California, and you're only paying me $60 per hour. So I was able to negotiate that, and we were able to increase it up to $65 per hour. Actually, for this one, it was an hourly pay, and yeah, it was so difficult. I only lasted like 11 months. I was like, I need to find a better paying job that works a little bit better for me and my career and my work-life balance. So I ended up moving to a specialty, pulmonary and sleep. And around that time, I was making $72 per hour, which is roughly around $149,000 to $150,000 annually. So I'm back to salary again around this time. I was working around 30 to 40-hour work weeks, but my schedule was chef's kiss. I only work 4 days a week, and it was really good. I love my work. I love that specialty a lot. So this is the only job where I was able to stay for more than 3 years. In that last job, I worked for 5 years, almost 6 years. Throughout that 5-year period, I was able to increase my salary from $150,000 to almost $190,000. But this only happened because there was a strike with our union, and we were able to increase our salary by, I think, 10 to 20% over the course of 3 years. So unions are great for hospitals and for nurses and for the safety ratios and all that stuff to be able to provide the best patient care for our patients. But yeah, I left that almost 200,000 job for my current job now, which I am now in my year 14, 15, all throughout my nursing career. And right now I'm making around $250,000 a year to $270,000 a year, approximately. And right now, the only difference is that I'm a little bit more cognizant with like my work-life balance and my lifestyle, like actually prioritizing my work-life balance more than the money. And it just so happens that the bonus is that I get to upgrade both, like living here in the Bay Area. So now I live in the Bay Area making this much money as a nurse practitioner. So yeah, like you can see the whole salary progression in the last 15 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit why switching jobs is probably one of the best income levers that I've had as a nurse, because a lot of people stay in jobs for so long and they assume that the promotions within that job, within the same employer, is the only path to making more money. That is not the case. I think for nurses, the best way to really increase your income is by job hopping or job switching. And even though this is so frowned upon, like I kid you not, my mom used to tell me that there's something wrong with me because I always switch jobs every 3 years. But for example, the median salary for registered nurses here in America is around $93,000, $93,600 as of May 2024. The median for nurse practitioners or any advanced practice role is around $132,050. And that means just by moving from RN to NP, you're already unlocking a major jump. On a recent article using the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta Wage Growth Tracker, they found that job switchers earned 6.1% more than stayers, which is around 4% in June 2023. Just imagine staying in one job for a long period of time is only going to give you around 2 to 3% salary increase, which is not even enough for inflation. Whereas just from moving from one hospital to the other or like one city to the other can increase your salary by more than 10%. Looking back now in my salary progression that I had mentioned earlier, if I had stayed in my first job, I wouldn't be making close to what I was making now as a nurse practitioner. Definitely not. I know a lot of nurses who I worked with initially as a new nurse who are still in that same hospital, and they're only roughly making around $40 to $50 per hour. So I think that job switching, job hopping is a great way to increase your income as a nurse, and it's something that we have to normalize. Nowadays, it's very difficult to stay in one job for like decades. It's not sustainable for most people, especially for those who start their career in places where nurses are not paid as good. I cannot imagine being a nurse, getting paid $20, $30 per hour and staying in that job for 20, 30 years. So if you have the privilege and you have the option to switch jobs or job hop or switch to a different city, please do it, because that's the only way that you can really leverage your nursing career. So now here is the reality. And even with a growing salary, if you let your lifestyle creep up and you not investing or saving your money, you'll still be trading your hours for dollars. And a lot of the things that we do as nurses that I am also guilty of is that, yeah, we fall into a lot of like money traps when it comes to increasing like our income. I know a lot of nurses who did what I did, like job hopped, increased their income. However, whenever they get a raise, then they would buy something bigger, more expensive to inflate their lifestyle. Even though they are increasing their income, they're also increasing their expenses, and every extra money that you're really making is just being eaten away by that lifestyle creep. I want to talk a little bit about how you can avoid this salary trap, because it's pretty normal that we fall into it because of everything that's happening around us, but you can avoid this. Here are 4 things that you can do. Number 1 is that give your raise a purpose before it hits your account, meaning that if you do have those salary increases at work, including, your yearly raises, or if you did switch to a different job and you get that raise, make sure that you are investing that extra money and not using it for expenses. Second thing is, before you fall into that lifestyle creep of buying things, I think consumerism is really a big problem in this country and something that I'm working on. But definitely before you buy things, especially those big purchases, think first, is this gonna make me feel financially free? Is this gonna set me closer to my financial goal? Or does it only feel good to buy this today? And that is a question I typically ask myself when I want to buy like a big purchase, like a new car, whenever I get a raise at work or whenever I increase my income and want to upgrade like our cars as well. Is this only going to feel good right now? Versus is this going to set me closer to my financial freedom goal? So it's different answers, different results. Number 3 is to use that lifestyle creep in reverse. So instead of increasing your expenses when you're increasing your income, try to lower down your expenses when you increase your income. I think that by doing that and investing, the rest of the money, you will get closer to your financial goal. I did this when we moved here up in the Bay. And even though the cost of living here is much higher, we definitely have lowered down our expenses. And then number 4 is make sure that you are tracking your money. And I always talk about this, that the first step to be financially free is to be financially aware. And a lot of people fall into the trap of spending more money because of just the simple reason of not tracking it. So make sure that you track your money. I use Monarch Money. This is not a sponsored video. I just love Monarch Money, but it's a way for me and my husband to track our finances, and it has helped us become more aware of our spending. So make sure that if you find a gap in that income and expenses, that you invest that gap instead. So those are the ways to not fall into the trap, which kind of brings us to the next step, which is if you find that gap and you find that you have more money at the end of the month left, instead of spending it on things, instead of spending it on liabilities, invest it. Make your money work for you. So investing is the only way that you can combat inflation. It's the only way that you can make your money work for you. I know for sure that no matter how much money I make, if I don't invest it, it's not going to matter because I'm going to continue working for my money. Meaning that if I don't work, I don't have money. So one way to do this is by investing in different assets. I talked about my investments in this video, but my favorite one is the stock market because it's something that is the most passive for me in a sense that I don't have to necessarily actively invest and work for it. So if you want to learn how to invest your money, I also have a video on this that you can check out. So that is my salary progression. That is the trap that most nurses fall on and what I have fell into when I increase my salary. So it doesn't really matter how much money you make if you're not investing it. And the biggest formula to building financial freedom is increasing your income and investing it. And I hope that this video is valuable for you, gave you a better idea of like how much nurses can make, and also that it's possible to reach financial freedom as a nurse with your nursing degree. So if this resonated with you, drop a comment down below, commenting, yes, I am investing. Yes, I am building financial freedom, because I think as nurses, we need a community and to learn that other nurses are doing the same so we don't feel as alone in our wealth building journey. And yeah, and as usual, I hope that this video is valuable for you. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.